Hi, everybody, and welcome to Rudys Psychic Meetup with Samantha Jane. And I'm here with Rudy Lago, who is the co-host of Rudys Psychic Meetup. And we're going to talk to you tonight about the channel and how everything got started and how we ended up doing a podcast.
Yeah. So, Sam, I'm thinking this was back in 2019 is when all this started. There was a small group that had joined your Patreon group. We were all drawn there really for two aspects. One was, cryptocurrencies that we'd been involved in, but the other was learning more about psychic or mediumistic abilities. And the psychic meetup really grew out of one of the members had started it early when we were on, we would use the Discord platform, and we would just get together and have a voice chat and talk and share about different experiences we were having as we were learning to recognize our skills and abilities. And it really was a great way for people to learn and say, hey, this is happening to me. Wow, that also happened to someone else. And start to figure out what these things mean. So that's really how it developed. And then people would have more questions, more people joined. So it really became kind of a formal bi-weekly meeting where we would have a list of topics that we would see people discussing on the Discord channel. And then we would go into some of those topics in a little bit more depth with Sam. And, the nice thing, Sam, is to have, you can look at some of these deeper questions and have a medium give their perspective on it, kind of to look behind the veil, if you will, and, get the real scoop on what's happening. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for giving everybody the explanation about the history of our program and how it started. A lot of people don't know what Patreon is. I know I didn't know until one of the earliest members said to me through YouTube, wrote me an email and said, you should start a Patreon channel so that people can financially support you, so that you can create more material. We love what you're putting out there. So I started this Patreon, and there was all of these people piling on, and so many people were interested in my psychic medium abilities, and I felt like this would be a great opportunity and a venue for me to, right in front of everybody, learn how to get command of my gift and share that with everybody who is also struggling with their abilities and how to get command over them. So I think that is a big attraction point. Now, Rudy, your wife, she does some pretty interesting work as well. And we've actually met in person when I was over in Anaheim. My daughter is a YouTuber and she goes to VidCon every year. So we had a really interesting meetup at that time. And I think that the program has just gotten better and better since that time. So why don't you talk about how you gather up the information and put it together, and how the program works every 2 weeks?
Yeah, at first I want to mention the Patreon. I remember when you set that up because you had been on YouTube for a while and you were starting to get your videos out and people were starting to follow you. And I liked what you were doing, and I remember donating $1 to you on Patreon because it must have been like the day or within a day or two of you setting that up. I'm like, well, I don't know what she's doing, but let me just, say, hey, I like what you're doing. $1 is a nice way to say, keep doing what you're doing. And from there, it exploded, and it was really neat to see everybody jump on and join so quickly. But yeah, the show really came from, we would be discussing certain topics within Discord. And, you can tell from some of these messaging programs, you get like a long list and a thread going and a lot of different perspectives. And then topics kind of change. So the Psychic Meetup really became a great way where we could take some of the key thoughts and questions that were coming from these threads and get Sam's look at those from a little bit deeper angle. Because sometimes you can't always give a thorough in-depth analysis of everything that you're seeing on those the Discord chats. And so that's what we do is we go through every week or every couple of weeks and look at some of the main topics that are discussed in the psychic or the healing. There's all different kinds of aspects, and we'll figure out what do we want to talk about. And the fun thing is we've covered all kinds of different topics, everything from what's in the Ark of the Covenant or under the Sphinx, or to people communicating with trees or plants or having some weird experiences. We've talked about aliens and UFOs. Anything that you can think of in this woo-woo supernatural space, or things that people just want a different perspective on, a medium to kind of look behind the veil and say, what's really going on here? Is this true? Is there something to this? And so it's really become a fun event that we have every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I get a lot of questions from people who are mediums or who are struggling with their psychic abilities. So, really, my number one reason for launching a podcast is so that we can pull out all of the woo woo stuff. Because, as Rudy mentioned, I mean, we do talk about cryptocurrencies quite a bit because it's a hobby channel. But what a shame if we didn't put something together, because I get so many emails, so many comments from people saying, keep up the great work. I love Rudys Psychic Meetup. I love the information I get from it. I always come away with a more positive outlook on things. My vibration is higher. I've been lifted. My anxiety is lowered. And I wanted to put together something that was from our meetup, but we edited out anything that had to do, that was non-woo-woo, because sometimes people do send questions that are of a personal nature, or they're wanting to know about natural disasters or geopolitical things. And I refer to those things as non-woo-woo. So the channel and the podcast is going to stay laser focused on woo-woo, and we're going to be helping out people who are struggling with their psychic medium gifts, and also, of course, people who are just fascinated with that kind of stuff. That's going to be a big part of it as well. So
Yeah,
just before we finish this up, Rudy, I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I think many of us were drawn here because we were interested in psychic phenomenon or things. And it turns out that, you're interested because maybe you have those gifts yourself. And the neatest part about this is being able to learn from one another. And what I've learned in the last year or so is really that if you can learn to recognize things that are happening, it enables you just to be able to build upon that and really understand what's happening with gifts that you may have. And the cool thing is, Sam, is you have so many people with abilities on here, psychic and even several mediums, which is pretty rare to have a group that can kind of come together and learn from each other. Because if, without this, maybe you're reading books or surfing the internet, but here you can come and interact with people and really get answers to your questions and share your experiences and not be judged and have people think that you're crazy. So it's a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight, Rudy, so that we can do this unedited live version as an introduction to our YouTube channel, which is called Rudys Psychic Meetup with Samantha Jane. And now we are going to be launching the podcast, Rudys Psychic Meetup with Samantha Jane, and it's going to be all woo-woo. Thanks so much again for hanging out, and I'll see you on the Patreon.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
Bye for now.
All right.